What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Magnum Force, the sequel to Dirty Harry. Magnum Force is directed by Ted Post, and once again stars Clint Eastwood in the titular role as Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry himself. So, I'm going to try and make this review as short as I possibly can, and just tell you the things that I liked and did not like about this movie. But overall, I think Magnum Force is a very strong sequel, a very strong standalone sequel, and to itself is pretty good. Is it as good as the first movie? No. But is this an entertainingly solid movie? Absolutely. I think Magnum Force is a movie that has a lot of potential to it. It has a very interesting, it has an intriguing storyline that you can actually put up to debate. Pretty much the entire plot line of this movie is that a bunch of rookie cops pretty much become vigilantes and they go off killing the most wanted criminals in all of San Francisco. And this movie kind of questions the morals. You know what I'm saying? So like we have these vigil now. Harry himself, he is a vigilante cop, but what happens when rookies, pretty much, who look up to someone like a Callahan who's been on the force for a long time, what if they decide to take the law into their own hands, but they use more excessive force? They take things to be more extreme than Harry does. It's actually a pretty cool and interesting contrast that I think this movie, for the most part, it explores fairly well because now we see a difference. Like we already know how much we already know what Dirty Harry can do, but what happens when other cops follow in his footsteps, but they take things to another level. And I think the movie explores that part of the story fairly well, and I like how that gets handled. Now, I think my main criticism with this movie is that the first movie was very grounded, very realistic, and very simplistic, and it had a very interesting, cool villain with the Scorpio character. Now, because this movie centers around a bunch of vigilante cops, I am not crazy about the big reveal of the villain, which ends up being this character called Briggs, played really great by Boyd Holbrook, who was constantly, who was constantly at at odds with Harry throughout the portion of the film. And when the big twist is revealed that Briggs is the mastermind behind everything, uh, I don't know. It kind of comes out of nowhere, and his excuse for it is kind of flimsy, to be honest with you. Not only that, I think the movie kind of telegraphs, can kind of sort of telegraphs it as you're watching it. I mean, it's not bad at all, but I think Briggs, when you compare him to like to Scorpio, it's a step down. And I think the rookie cops to themselves, with the exception of maybe David Soul, a lot of the rookie cops they don't really stand out. They don't really have much personalities. I mean, again, this movie's made in 1973, so you have actors like David Soul, Tim Matheson, and Robert Urich. This is before their careers really took off in Hollywood. This was before David Soul did Starsky and Hutch, so he was just a relatively unknown, and a lot of the dialogue for the rookie cops does go to David Soul, and not for nothing. I thought for a first time, I thought David Soul handled his role fairly well. He plays the character called Davis, and I thought he was fine. I thought he pulled it off fairly well. I like how he comes across as very unassuming, not so manipulative. I do like the red herring that this movie does throw us. For a good portion of the movie, we think that one of these killers is a guy called McCoy, played by Mitchell Ryan, and he's also a friend of Harry. But when we first see McCoy, there's something off about him, and through dialogue, we find out that this man played Russian roulette in his own house in front of his kids and tried to kill himself. So through dialogue, we know, and for the scene that we saw him in, we know that the McCoy character, there's something off about him. So the movie, for the most part, tries to convince us that this is the guy who's knocking off everybody, and then when it's revealed that it's actually not him, and it's this other guy called Davis, that I actually thought that was pretty cool. I like that little. I like how they subverted the expectation a little bit, where it's these unassuming rookies who are doing all the killing, and not this veteran cop. I thought that was fairly well handled. I thought that was okay too. It's just the ultimate reveal of who the mastermind is what I thought was really weak, and I thought the explanation for why he's doing things is also kind of flimsy to itself. But with that being said, this movie does have a lot of good things to it. Direction and cinematography, Now again, while I love that grounded, realistic look of the first movie, this has a more polished look as of compared to that first movie, and but it still has a gritty look to it. It still has a realistic tone to it, so I don't have any complaints at all. I think Ted Post, while not as a dynamic director as Don Siegel, does a really good job with this movie. I like how he handles all the action scenes. I like his stylistic choices for this movie. This movie has some really good scenes of Harry in the shadows, especially at the end of the movie. I thought the directing and cinematography in those and scenes like that are actually really well done. I have no complaints. The score for this movie continues that 1970s funk rockish type thing, and it happens over here too, and it just fits the tone of this movie as well. So I enjoyed it. Uh, I like a lot of the character relationships in this movie. Felton Perry, before his RoboCop days, is in this movie. He plays a character who becomes partners. He plays a character called Early, who becomes partners with Harry. And I like the chemistry between Eastwood and Perry. They develop a good mutual respect for one another and a very understated friendship throughout the course of the movie. I think one of the things that I don't like about this thing is that I don't really because Early dies in like the last half of the movie, and I don't and I don't know. I don't think Harry. I don't even think Harry finds out that Early dies in the movie. To be honest with you, and if he did, it completely went over my head. But for these two guys who throughout the good length of the movie, they're partners. They're like having an understated friendship, a good mutual respect for one another, and a friendship. And I just think that his death did not affect Harry enough, at least for me, because I was liking the chemistry between the two. I thought Felton Perry did a really good job playing the character, and I thought he held his own fairly well with a heavy hitter like Clint Eastwood. So I like that stuff. That stuff is great. This movie tries to give Harry a love interest, and it's very underdeveloped. It goes nowhere. He meets a girl named Sunny who lives in the same apartment complex as he does, and they just have sex, and that's it. There's really nothing to it. There's also a subplot where McCoy's character's wife tries to hit on Harry, and it goes nowhere either. So this movie tries to make Dirty Harry into a hit to a player, and it kind of comes out of nowhere because that stuff was not even in the first movie. Over here, it just comes out of left field. And not only that, these relationships are underdeveloped. Like I could have got behind this Sunny relationship if they would have developed it more. And instead, it comes across as this character just wanted to get some action with a cop. Tell you the truth, it doesn't go anywhere. And if you take it out of the movie, it's probably going to make this movie go a little bit faster because I think scenes like that kind of drag the movie down a little bit. It kind of halts the pacing. Now, this movie is longer than the original Dirty Harry movie. I think a lot has to do with that. This movie does have some filler scenes to them, like mostly with the scenes with Sonny and the scene with McCoy's wife. I think those run on longer than they should. Take those scenes out, and this movie would have a much better flow and a much quicker pace to it. Uh, so yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on Magnum Force. Like I said, overall, I thought this movie was actually really good. Compared to the first one, it's not as good, but for what it has to offer, I like it. I think, like I said, I think the action is really well done. I think the violence is done very tastefully in this movie. I mean, there's one memorable scene where a pimp pretty much kills one of his prostitutes with pretty much cleaning fluid, Drano basically. We don't see what happens to the poor woman, thank God, but it's a very memorable, but it's a very memorable scene that you're gonna remember it when you see it. So, yeah, overall, Magnum Force for me gets a solid 8 out of 10. I do enjoy it, but compared to the first one, it falls it falls down a couple of notches. But overall, it's a good watch. It's a good standalone sequel, and you're gonna get what you get. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Magnum Force. Okay, well, let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comment sections down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.